closed. So we are going to call this meeting to order. At this time, we do have one addition, and I'll ask council if there are any other additions this evening. So we do have a proclamation for Right to Know Week that we will add under agenda item number 12, 2. Any other additions this evening? Okay, I would ask for an approval of the agenda with the one addition.
Move to approve as amended.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, our agenda is approved with the one addition. This evening, we do not have any gallery presentations, so we'll move on to acknowledgements. I just wanted to acknowledge a couple of our teams here in the Strait. We have the Strait Area Sting U13A team that brought home provincials, the provincial champs. So congratulations to the kids who worked really hard to take home the gold
Banner.
The banner, thank you. Also, I just wanted to acknowledge the Strait Area Sting U15A as well. They brought home second place in the provincials, and the U18A brought home third place in provincials. So congratulations to all of our ball players. They did an amazing job over the weekend, made us all proud. Any other acknowledgements council wishes to make?
Yes, Your Worship. I'd like to acknowledge and say happy birthday to Margaret Hart, who turned 90 yesterday.
That's a great acknowledgement. Thank you. Happy birthday. Any other acknowledgements this evening? We'll move on to approval of council minutes. Our first set of minutes are the special public meeting of council from June 20th, 2023. I'd ask at this time if there are any errors or omissions. Hearing none, I would ask that council share any errors or omissions of the special public meeting of council from August 14th.
Yes, Your Worship. I have a couple here.
Sure.
On item 4, town maintenance and grass cutting. There was a motion made, Councilor McIver, seconded by Deputy Mayor McDougall, that the town for Osprey purchase the extension attachment of a boom layer mower. And on that motion, there was an amendment to the motion. This one here, down below it, right under it says amended. And on the amendment, it says moved by Councilor McIver, seconded by Councilor McQuarrie. I think that was moved by Councilor McQuarrie to begin with, and seconded by Councilor McIver, if my recollection is right. Agree with that, Councilor? And continuing on, it says the motion was carried unanimously, which it was. But that was the amended motion, then we should have went back and voted on the original motion. And I thought we did. I just want that, because I don't see where that was carried or moved or talked about.
Okay. So we can get that correction.
There's 2 corrections there, if I'm right. And is that first comment correct, where it was the mover and the seconder? I don't want to change that.
Yeah, I honestly can't recall.
Blaine introduced it.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look at the recording.
Look, I certainly spoke to it, and
So you moved the amendment, Blake?
I gather, yes.
And I think you might have seconded.
No, Mark
So,
seconded.
Mark, you seconded. Okay,
Yeah.
so we can get that correction in the minutes.
And then Mark did second it, then with the addition of the comment about 3 times a year. Mark, Councilor McIver, I'm pretty sure you brought that up.
3 times a year is noted in.
Well, that's in the motion.
Yes, I know, but I'm just saying,
My point, I guess, is that's the amendment to the motion.
yes.
Then when you vote on the amendment, you go back to the original motion,
Yeah.
which was voted on also, I thought.
Yeah,
And that also carried unanimously.
correct.
So I think we're back.
So I think we just need to have the,
Well, you can double check on the cameras that we have to, it's recorded, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want that to be
no
brought up
problem.
before they're officially brought into.
Sounds good. So we'll get those corrected. Any other?
Yeah, so, Deputy Mayor, like going back to your point about the original motion, the minutes doesn't really reflect that we did have a vote.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's my point.
Right.
But you have to,
Yes, no, I agree with you. So
but
the
I'm
minutes-
assuming we did. I thought we did.
We did.
We did.
We did.
We did.
Everything we did, yeah.
We did vote on
We
it,
did vote on it.
on the amended name.
But we'll double check with the video. Because you don't vote on an amendment, then don't vote on the main motion.
Yeah, we can get that corrected. Is there any other errors or omissions? Just that one, just that one under the August 14th minutes, under agenda item 4 for town maintenance and grass cutting. So we'll get that corrected. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Okay. So we're going to move on then to business arising from the minutes. Did anybody want to discuss any business arising from those minutes at this time?
Later in the. It's later.
Sure. So council committee reports. So Terry, so what's coming forward from our committee as a whole?
Yes, Your Worship, so the items from the committee of whole were addressed in the special meeting.
Okay.
and, yeah, so there's nothing moving forward to this meeting.
Perfect, thank you. So you all had the minutes of the committee of the whole of June 20th circulated. I would ask at this time if there are any errors or omissions, and if there are none, at this time I would ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
Move to approve the minutes, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Okay, the minutes are approved, and business arising from committee of the whole minutes. Just two items I wanted to bring to council's attention. We did want to continue to have a conversation about committee of the whole, so that we can begin a process in terms of what motions that we would like to have be considered, and that will have to be addressed through policy, I believe. So we'll have to kind of keep that on our radar to move that forward. I just wanted to let council know that we should keep that on our radar. And the second item was just a quick question to our CAO. Did we get any interest come forward for the Superfort nomination?
No, we have not.
Okay, so, great. I guess I would ask council then, if we haven't had any organic nominations, if you want to kind of put some thought behind anybody who might be a good candidate to represent the town. Okay. Those are the only two items I wanted to bring up under business arising. Anything else from council? Okay. We didn't have an in-camera meeting today, so we will bypass motions from in-camera. Also correspondence. We did have some correspondence from the Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness group, but we will deal with that under proclamations. So under proclamations, the first proclamation is for Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Month. And the proclamation is, whereas fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is a diagnostic term used to describe impacts on the brain and body of individuals prenatally exposed to alcohol. FASD is a lifelong disability. Individuals with FASD will experience some degree of challenges in their daily living, and needs support with motor skills, physical health, learning, memory, attention, communication, emotional regulation, and social skills to reach their full potential. Each individual with FASD is unique and has areas of both strengths and challenges. Whereas FASD-NL is a pan-provincial organization that educates, provides supports and resources, and raises awareness about fetal alcohol spectrum disorder in Newfoundland and Labrador and Atlantic Canada. And whereas FASD-NL is leading a 3-year FASD prevention awareness training and collaborative action project in the 4 Atlantic provinces. And whereas FASD Awareness Month is devoted to raising awareness of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder to improve prevention of FASD and diagnosis and support for individuals with FASD and broad public awareness that helps put FASD on the map. And therefore, I, Bridges and Beaton, Mayor of the Town of Port Hawkesbury, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2023 to be FASD Awareness Month as cause, issue, special occasion, etc. in the Town of Port Hawkesbury. What is the wishes of council?
I would move that we adopt the proclamation for fetal alcohol syndrome disorder.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, that is approved. And our added proclamation is with regard to Right to Know Week. September 25th to October 1st this year, 2023. Which reads, whereas the Town of Port Hawkesbury has adopted the principles of openness, transparency, and accountability, and whereas Part 20 of the Municipal Government Act gives citizens a right to access to information in the custody or under the control of the Town of Port Hawkesbury, and whereas access to information ensures citizens of Nova Scotia have the opportunity for meaningful participation in the democratic process, and whereas a celebration of the right of citizens to access information will facilitate informed public participation in policy formulation, ensure fairness in government decision-making, and permit the airing and reconciliation of divergent views. And whereas the Town of Port Hawkesbury joins all other Canadian jurisdictions and democracies worldwide in acknowledging international right to know. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Brenda Beaton of the Town of Port Hawkesbury, do hereby proclaim September 25th to October 1st, 2023 to be Right to Know Week in the Town of Port Hawkesbury. What is the wishes of council?
So, Your Worship, just a question. Whom did we receive this from?
Melissa? I think we've done it every fall.
I would move to accept the
Thank you.
proclamation.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
So Melissa we'll see if she can find the original email request. Can we send that information to you when Melissa's able to find that for you, Councillor?
Sure, Your Worship.
Is this holding up the,
Yeah,
Oh.
no,
I'll just, it's part of the,
unless
Please.
unless you would like to wait. Councillor?
It's just a question. I mean, for the previous proclamation, we had a cover letter where it came from, and I was just curious. Not that I don't support it, I just asked
Okay.
a question where it came from.
I think this went to the info,
I think it did.
Yeah,
For Town of Port Hawkesbury,
info.
info at Town of Port Hawkesbury.
I think it's something we normally support.
We've done it every year for the past 10 years or more.
Your worship, it came from the Office of Information and Privacy Commission for Nova Scotia.
Okay,
Julie Young, Assessment and Awareness Officer.
thank you very much,
Thank you.
Jerry. Okay,
Question?
okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Okay, the proclamation is approved. Okay, so under other business, we will deal with consideration from public hearing first, and then we'll go through the rest of our agenda items. Sorry, Carrie. Did I up the order? Okay, so the motion for consideration for council is that the town of Port Hawkesbury gives second and final reading to adopt the marketing levy bylaw effective November 1st, 2023. What is the wishes of council?
I move the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Second motion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion or questions?
Question.
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded. Okay, the motion is approved. And now we'll go back to council expenses, and I'll hand things over to Jerry.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's two council expense reports included in your package. The first is for the month of June. During the month of June, there was a total expenditure with respect to expenses of $1,658.14 as normal. That that report will be posted on our website. Council expenses for July and August, total of $3,098. And again, that report will be made public after this meeting and posted on our website.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, the next item is connecting the dots. Do you have a question?
Yes, you wish through. You fixed it?
The titles?
Mm-hmm.
Is there an error?
Okay.
No,
No, it's fixed.
Okay. Okay, so connecting the dots between poverty and health. So over to you, Terry, for that item.
Thank you, Your Worship. I know that you've been, have had contact with this group, and feel free to introduce this, or I can
Go ahead.
talk a little bit about this as well. So Connecting the Dots is a gathering that will occur on October 17, 2023, which is the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. So the event will take place in the Port Hawkesbury Civic Center. Outcomes, they hope to increase the understanding of how health is impacted by income poverty, increase knowledge of how to address the issues of poverty within our work, create new networks, brainstorm new projects, and new ways to collaborate to reduce the number of people experiencing poverty in our community, and to commit to working together on issues of poverty and health.
There's a request from council for support.
Yes, included in your package is a request from the group that's organizing the event. Be held in the Civic Center on October 17th. And so they're asking for a contribution of $500 to support this event. Recommended by staff.
So the contribution can be in kind?
Yes.
For having the venue here?
Yes.
I would move that we give the contribution in kind. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion with regard to the motion currently on the floor?
Question.
Okay, question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved. Thank you, Terry. So we'll move on then to new bylaw, and Councillor O'Coin will be leading the discussion on this. Over to you, Councillor O'Coin.
Thank you. So I've been approached by quite a few residents and the Richmond Riders Association to bring forth to council to create a bylaw that would allow ATVs, which are insured, registered, and operated by a fully licensed operator. By that, I mean they have to have an Nova Scotia or driver's license, a full license. It can't be a learner's permit. And in discussion, we thought it would be best from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. that the ATVs would not have access to the roads. And part of that reason would be to comply with our noise bylaw. So from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., they would not be granted access to our town streets. Some of the reasons for this is it's an economic impact on the community. I've seen firsthand communities where 15 or 20 ATVs will pull into a restaurant and everybody's spending at least $50 in there to eat. Then they all go to a fuel station, get gas for their bikes. It's another $40 or $50 each. I think it would help our hospitality industry. And then when we are planning to put on a rally here in Port Hawkesbury in the near future again. And it will help the hotels. People will come stay overnight. It's really becoming a big industry. And I did pass around Yarmouth's bylaw that they are moving to their second reading on. I emailed that to council and staff this afternoon. So the province has actually put a law in. It's the Road Trails Act. So we can't do less than that, but if we see fit to make it stricter, we can. I think when we look at it, you'll see that they've covered pretty well everything. So I'm asking council to consider having the first reading for a bylaw at our next public meeting. So that would give us a month to get ready for it. And in front of us, a lot of the work is already done from Yarmouth. We can add a few things in there if we wish, like in their bylaw, it does not state that you need to be a licensed driver in order to operate the ATVs.
Just Terry, if you could, like, in terms of preparing for a second reading, like, I know there are rules around advertising, that it has to be advertised by a set amount of time prior to first reading. So I just want to make sure that we allow ample time for, staff to be able to pen a bylaw, that makes sense for our town. Certainly Port Hawkesbury is different from the town of Yarmouth, so we would definitely have to make sure that there is an understanding of, I think in Yarmouth they're referring to trails. I think your request is for road access.
Actually, Yarmouth is on their Water Street as well.
Okay.
I'm not requesting one street, I'm requesting all of our town-owned streets.
Okay, so, I just want to make sure that there's ample time for staff to prepare something that can, A, be reviewed by council, and B, in enough time to advertise. So I would maybe ask for some more flexibility in terms of making sure that we check off all those boxes.
Through your worship, I believe that 2 weeks is more than enough time. The template's there. We have to change a few words. We can bring this to committee a whole, we present it to council, and they'll give us our 2 weeks to advertise.
Just one technicality is that the bylaw has to go through an advisory committee. So there's typically an advisory committee of council. That advisory committee, in this case, decision was made at the start of this term that the advisory committee is council. So there's typically an advisory an advisory committee meeting that makes a recommendation to council, and then moves forward that way. Many of our bylaws come forward through planning commission. So in that case, it goes through our planning advisory committee. In this case, it will go through a committee of council. Our bylaw advisory committee, which in this case is council members. So we would meet before any first reading. I will say just in a very quick look, this is connecting two pieces of trail through one piece of street. So it is very different than allowing ATVs. And I certainly don't know, certainly don't know the law around that as well. So there is some research with respect to the Motor Vehicle Act. I know it references the Nova Scotia Road to Trails Act, so we have to do some research on that as well. So there is some work to move this forward. Staff would be happy to look at this and then come back at committee of whole, or if we want to have an advisory bylaw committee at some point, we do that and just come with the findings that we have at that point, and then you can make your decision as to when you wish to receive first reading and actually what exactly what that bylaw will state as well.
So we could have a council meeting, I guess a planning meeting prior to our committee of the whole, just to review, I guess, whatever research you're able to come up with at that time.
Yes.
Through you, your worship, do we really have to have a separate meeting when it's all the same people? Can't we just do that committee of all?
Okay.
Your worship, through you, historically, we used to do exactly what the councillor said, would come in, or said what you just said, would come in beforehand and have the bylaw in advance, staff write it up, and we sit down before our regular meeting as council. We had bylaw meetings, sometimes to be 2 hours beforehand, before our regular council meeting, would have a bylaw meeting. So if we have one bylaw in place, and that might be 2 or 3 bylaws that we're trying to look at. We have this one bylaw, we have all the paper, all the write-up of the bylaw, we can look at it and decide then, yes. And there was another point I wanted to make there. Yes, Councilor McIver can count for this also. We discussed this and we brought it up before at our police commission meetings. They did have issues in Shettycamp where there was some problems. I'm not sure they had the bylaws stayed up, but I think this is a great idea. And all the ducks got to be in a row, but I would definitely support it. And it is a money maker for the town. And I think we should move this. I think it's time sensitive, and we should move faster than slower. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Also, through you, your worship, Deputy Mayor and I have a meeting on the 12th, the Police Commission.
Sure.
And we can bring it up there, and maybe if they have information, they can send it to us.
Oh, that's a very great idea.
What they have across the province.
Fantastic. Councilor McCrory?
Well, I think we have to be a little bit thoughtful about going ahead with this. I get complaints all the time. Well, I shouldn't say all the time. I've got frequent complaints about four-wheel vehicles traveling, particularly on a Quarry Drive extension, different hours of the evening, and certainly not abiding by speed limits. And not that they should be there now, because we don't have a bylaw that prohibits that. But I get complaints about it. What are the police doing about it? So, of course, the police can't be everywhere all the time. Just like complaints they get about vehicles with loud mufflers going through town, right? And why are the police doing stuff about that? And I think it's a totally different thing to identify one street as is in this proposed bylaw for Yarmouth, and then open it up for all the streets in the town of Port Hawkesbury. Our process, our bylaw process provides for the public to have their input and to raise their concerns. And obviously, if people can come out in favor or opposed to this. In here, I see that they had a meeting and there were 30 people attended their public consultation meeting, and there were 16 folks at that meeting that spoke, some in favor and others with concerns about it. And likewise, I think we'll go through that process. We would get the same sort of feedback from the community, which is why that process is in place. I'd be interested to know, through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Coyne, if there are any other communities that he could point to that have bylaws in the province similar to this, opening up all municipal street-owned streets for ATV vehicles to be driven upon.
So Yarmouth was, through Your Worship, Yarmouth was the only one I contacted.
Right.
And the reason I contacted them is I was talking to Bruce Morrison today, because I knew that Victoria had applied to be one of the 5 pilot projects in the province. And 5 other people got it. And Bruce told me today that if we were to pass this bylaw, he wants to know immediately, because he wants to do it there. And I know that in other provinces, there's communities that open up anything that they own, they allow. Now in Port Hawkesbury, we would have to get permission for these vehicles to cross Reeve Street, but not drive on Reeve Street.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, just want to go back to Councillor Coyne. So when you talked to Warden Morrison, he said they've been identified as a pilot to do this?
No, they were rejected as the pilot. 5 other communities had it.
Oh, okay. But they're interested in doing it.
Absolutely.
And when you say they're interested in doing it, are they interested in doing it in the village of Bedeque, or are they interested in doing it outside Bedeque?
What he has told me is that his council is interested in adopting this bylaw.
He didn't specify where.
No.
Okay.
Your Worship.
Yeah, go ahead.
These are all questions, Your Worship, through you, that can be asked at our bylaw meeting, and they're good questions. But that's for, I think it's for another meeting. We're not gonna make any decision on that.
No, I
So-
guess Deputy Mayor.
So that's when we
Yeah.
ask how they all have to be asked, and yes, you're right, we do have to have an open forum to the public, and we gotta go through the process.
Yes.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor, I guess I agree with you. I'm not arguing with Tom. I was just trying to explain why I think we definitely need to take, like Councillor Coyne is suggesting, that he'd like to see us move with some haste to get this moved along. But I think we need to be a little more restrained and go through the process, and I agree with you. I'm just raising a couple of reasons why I have that opinion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Corey and Deputy Mayor Dougal. So I too would be interested in learning, in addition to Yarmouth, who are the other 4 communities or municipalities that are considering such a pilot. I think definitely more information will help empower us in terms of what we would like to do as a town moving forward. And also, maybe there are certain areas that wouldn't be conducive to ATV traffic. So maybe there are places too that would be, I guess, more conducive. So things like that will certainly flesh themselves out in terms of the community consultations as well, in terms of what the community has interest in. Any other questions?
Through you, Your Worship.
Yeah.
I think the province did the 5 pilots, I think, through the
Yeah.
province of Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think they, through legislation or whatever, they made or put the decisions to have it up to the municipalities.
Right.
Like they didn't want to blanket legislate that the whole province was under this one provincial law. They left it up to the municipalities. And as Councilor McCory was stating, there is a process, and it does take a little bit of time. You have to have your public meetings and stuff like that, and then hear from your public. I think from my understanding and looking across the province where they have this, I guess once a year, maybe you'd have a rally or something, and it is economically, it's big. Shetty Camp, I know that it's big. And I also put, I guess, talking about it was your footprint that you're leaving, driving your truck or your SUV to the post office to get the mail, where if you could drive your side-by-side, your footprint's a lot less. So I look at that, they're greener, they burn less gas. And it's something that I think that we should look at pretty seriously, put this together.
Thank you. I guess the question I would have in terms of the vehicle allowances, I know I had asked this to Councillor Coyne, but what about the winterized vehicles like snowmobiles?
They're not classified as an ATV.
Yes, I don't think so.
No. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so I guess we will put the item, the potential bylaw in the hands of staff so they can do some research. It probably would be worthwhile also to maybe see what those provincial restrictions are in terms of, I mean, what's a little different obviously from Victoria County versus the town of Port Hawkesbury is, you know, there's a lot of roads that are owned by the province in Victoria County versus the town. You know, many of the roads, with the exception of Reeve Street, is owned by the town of Port Hawkesbury. So it's not going to be apples to apples comparison in terms of what our bylaw can look like and what Victoria County's bylaw can look like. Similar to our bylaws, not going to look the exact same as any other bylaws like Yarmouth. We appreciate you sharing Yarmouth's, but the town of Port Hawkesbury and Yarmouth, they're both towns, but they certainly have different geography to consider. So we will, I guess, lob that ball over to staff, and we'll arrange to have a bylaw meeting of council prior to our committee of the whole so that we can review where we're at and determine next steps. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, Your Worship,
Sure.
I just point out in this document from Yarmouth, if you look at the second last paragraph on the first page, the point that you're making about in Victoria County, most of the roads are provincially owned and operated. That it doesn't apply to that. It says this spring the Road Trails Act was passed in Nova Scotia legislature, allowing towns and municipalities to designate any roads they own as road trails. So
Right.
it wouldn't have any bearing on provincial
Correct.
road. It's municipal roads.
So
That's right.
we would have to figure out Reeve Street in our bylaw. Certainly.
Yeah, we couldn't, through your worship, we couldn't put a byline to use Reeve Street. It's a provincial highway. I think there's already, I don't know, I'll call them laws in place that you can cross the highway on an ATV. They have them all down Route 19 and stuff like that. There's no greater opportunity here because you have a set of lights.
You sometimes see the little signs.
The signs are there. Like, I've crossed Route 19 many times off the trail. And like wherever the tracks were, crossing the highway, well, you're crossing them there too, so.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Councillor Coyne, for bringing that forward for consideration. Our next item is update on projects. And over to you, Terry.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'll do a quick review of projects. We haven't had an opportunity this summer, so this is an overview, and then committee of whole will go into detail on all of our projects. So I just didn't want to miss anything, so Jason has put this table together for me. So the first one is with respect to our public works building. As we know, the architect has been contract awarded. New building concept design is completed. There's been redesign of the old building for storage. Is is nearing completion. We have some mechanical electrical issues to deal with there. In negotiations with adjacent landowner for purchase of land, so we are looking at expanding our footprint, and we'd have to take any further discussion on back to an in-camera session on that, and we hope to be able to do that in short order. We're awaiting budget pricing for removal of concrete, so if we do move forward with that, there's some work that has to be done on that. There's some in-camera issues here, so I would ask that if we're getting into those contractual type of issues, then we await an in-camera session. Tamarack, so you'll see a number of projects that refer to it's all on water system upgrades, which is the Pitt Street tank replacement, the old tank removal, upgrades to our McDonald Street valve chamber, a number of issues. There's projects in the east. It's a very large project with a number of components. So I'll go through them individually though. So water tank demolition is complete. Pitt Street water tank project, the tank supply, we've awarded that project. We're working through logistics and timelines with respect to the building of the tank. So that was the first thing we did almost within a couple of weeks of the announcement we had the money, is to get this tank ordered, because that takes some time. With respect to the RFP for engineering services, active transportation design, sidewalk replacement. So that work, that's the work on Old Sydney Road. So that we have design completed, tenders issued, closed, and design for future Tamarack ATV project is ongoing. So that project, unlike I think almost everyone, was very close to budget. So we've had a lot of difficulties with tender this summer, with receiving one bid. All of our tenders were over the estimated amount as well. Street line painting, that's been awarded and the work has been completed. Landry Lake utility design of pumping and pipelines, that work is ongoing. Roof replacement project, that's the roof replacement for our water treatment plant. Again, that price was significantly higher than our estimate, and we don't have funding to be able to move forward with that. The large one is the water system upgrades. We have one bid for Island Construction. We're working with them. We've asked them for breakdown. We've been working with them for over a month on that project. We have to proceed with certain amounts of that, so we're defining what's achievable within that contract now. So that's the quick update on those projects, and I'd be happy to take any questions on any of those projects or anything that I omitted.
Thank you, Terry. Any questions for Terry at this time with regard to the updates?
Yes, Your Worship.
Councillor Court.
Terry, so the design work for the trail, the AT trail going up to Tamarack, that's not completed. It wasn't completed before the request for proposals went out. It's being worked on now.
The design work for
Yeah.
the Tamarack Trail?
Yes.
So the design work, that was a phase of the project which explained to this council that was deferred after the first year. So there was design changes that we were looking at to accommodate future development. That had changed the scope of that significantly.
Yeah.
And so that phase of the project was deferred, and we moved forward with the Macquarie Drive extension project in lieu. We were also able to advance a piece of the AT lane on the waterfront. The next phase of that in succession was the Eastern Town Connector. Eastern Town Connector connects Cardell Trailer Court with Trump 4 and improves access on Queen Street Extension. So the Queen Street Extension crosswalk, Queen Street Extension sidewalk, Queen Street sidewalk, all of that development that we have explained in detail in our committee of whole meetings. That project that project, again, was over budget, was extremely far over budget. And with the flash flooding that had occurred this summer, we had more concerns with respect to being able to handle that type of weather event on the trail that was designed to go to Cardell. So we've been meeting actually over the last month and a half with the designers around that and looking for another alternative. And we're actually seeing if we can move forward on part of that project to be able to advance that. So part of it is a new crosswalk lighting and the sidewalk that will go along Queen Street. That's considerably over budget as well. So we're trying to figure out how we can, is there a portion of that we could move forward? Certainly the design of the new AT trail is moving forward on that side.
Any other questions for Jared? Okay. Thanks, Terry.
Okay.
Mowing and mulching.
Oh, I'm sorry, you know what, I missed a page here, that's why, just that whole thing. So that's the AT lane for the Eastern Town connection and the Old Sydney Road sidewalk. So, like I mentioned, the one success in tendering was around the Old Sydney Road sidewalk project. So we have tender that's close to our estimates and our budget. And just after our meeting this afternoon with some changes, we are looking to award that actually this week.
Through your worship.
Yeah.
Terry, the Sydney Road sidewalk, are we looking at the Bernard Street sidewalk being part of that, the removal?
Yes, we made a commitment to council that we would look at that section of sidewalk as well. So our hope is when we have this project in place is to look at making the small extra and doing that small piece of sidewalk. If not, if the pricing is within reason on that, we will move forward on that side. If not, then we will. That's a priority for our public works team.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, your worship.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor.
My understanding, this will be on the agenda for committee of the whole.
Yes, it will be.
Thank
In
you.
more detail.
Perfect.
In the interim, I guess, Terry, would you mind flipping those charts to council?
Absolutely.
Thank you. That way they can bring their questions to committee level.
Okay.
Any other questions for Terry at this time? Okay, mowing and mulching. Our next favorite topic.
So we had considerable discussion on improving the edges of roadway where we don't have curb and gutter and sidewalk. And there's a considerable amount, as we all know, and we looked at options of how to do that. So we talked about a motion that was made at our special meeting. I shared with you the research that was done by our staff. Certainly that brings forward more discussion. In order to kind of move forward with any kind of, to really define the cost of how we move forward, we have to have a discussion on what the need is. So we talked about Granville Street and being able to see the water on Granville Street and being able to at least cut what's on town-owned property. And we've had discussions numerous times on Spruce Street. We've had discussions on Paint Street. We've had discussions on Queen Street Extension, on Crandall Road. So on Old Sydney Road, and all of the other areas that are ditched, and the other parts of Granville Street that are open as well. So to clearly look at options, we want to and costs, we really want to define what the requirement is around that. The other thing is, with respect to the equipment, Jason has been reaching out to other public works departments around the province and seeing who's actually using these attachments and how well they're used, to get a recommendation of if council wants to proceed with a mulching attachment for any of our equipment, that we'd get some feedback on what works and what doesn't.
Okay. Any questions for Terry?
Through you, your worship. Jason did do some work on it. He sent it out pricing from CAT, I guess, in Frenchvale. And a track skid steer with a bush cutter on it, which wouldn't do probably most of what we want.
Which would do? Or would
Would
not?
not.
Okay, well, that doesn't seem like.
He suggested for 4 weeks was $5,000
This is to rent it, George.
to rent it.
But it wouldn't do the most.
And it wouldn't
the
do
job that we wanted.
Like over the banks.
That's
like the-
X.
So, and also, I mean, I don't have any problem with more information.
Yeah.
But with $5,000 rental, I mean, if we looked at that just once this year, and then for 3 times next year, or even twice,
Let's try that.
it's $20,000, $15,000. So I guess if staff is gonna come back with, I guess, other recommendations for rentals or other pieces of equipment, it'd be good to do so, I guess, for committee of the whole. I know what that information that I got, I would not be in favor of renting. I
I
mean,
wonder if there might be an opportunity if there are other municipalities who do that kind of maintenance themselves.
yeah, as the,
Maybe
Mr. Noel said that. he just-
interested in doing some equipment sharing or whatever have you.
That's a possibility too.
If there is another municipality who's in a similar boat, maybe we buy it together and use it for when we need it.
The thing with the attachment that we were talking about buying is put a whole separate set of wheels on your trackless as well. And I, for one, would not want to send our trackless to another municipality. I wouldn't be very interested in that.
So I guess Terry, you'll bring back some more information for us for committee of the whole?
Committee of the whole.
Sounds good.
Prior to committee of the whole.
Prior to committee of the
Thank you.
whole. Sounds good?
Great.
Perfect. If we're good with that item? Okay, so,
Hold on just 1 second.
sure,
Let's go back to the mowing and mulching.
that's the one we're on.
There's been a lot of talk about Prince Street Hill.
Okay.
And if we were gonna mow it or if we weren't gonna mow it. And to the best of my knowledge, it's not done yet unless it was done in the last couple of days. Are we gonna go ahead with that? Or are we waiting till we buy a piece of equipment, or are we gonna hire a contractor to go in and do that? I think we need to make a decision on that here, like.
Your worship, through you, your worship. I brought that up at the last meeting, and I was under the understanding that we would not do it then, but once we got these, it will be part of
Ongoing maintenance.
the maintenance that we needed to do, to either the 3 times a year or buying a piece of machinery. But I do think that it has to be done also.
That equipment won't do that hill.
What equipment? When we buy,
If we buy the one for the trackless,
No.
the trackless will not do that hill.
well, there must be some piece of equipment that'll do the hill. My point, I guess.
There is, through your worship, a piece of equipment that I think can be more discussed at committee of the whole if we're going to talk about another piece of equipment, but it's probably around the same price range, and it has attachments and it's capable of doing that type of mowing.
Well, I guess through you, your worship, I guess, I'm not really up on the types of machinery we need to do mulching, cutting, dredging, whatever. But I know it has to be done somehow. Now, we've been doing that Prince Street Park Hill. I don't even know if the kids this winter are gonna be able to coast down that hill with all the trees and everything that's growing up there. Somebody will get a branch from the road or something. So I think we have a responsibility just for that. Yes, I do think it should be done, and I don't know, I don't have the answer to do it. If it takes hiring somebody to do it, yes, hire somebody to do it, if that's what it takes. But I think it should be done. It's the first thing you see coming into Hawkesbury is that hill. And it was always done, and it was always good.
Through you, your worship, with the last meeting, the conversations we had, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that was something that was gonna happen. It was separate from the fail mower. If the staff was gonna look at hiring a contractor to do the hill. That's what my understanding was.
Your worship, I believe we do have a commitment with the contractor to do certain work, which will include Prince Street. Or at this point in time, knowing that the attachments that we were looking at would not do that type of work.
Thanks for the update, Terry. Any other questions? Okay. We already dealt with our approved additions under proclamation, so future meetings, our committee of the whole, September 19th, followed by a public meeting, October 3rd. We don't have any gallery here, although we do potentially have some gallery participating virtually. So we do have a public question period. If there are any questions with any of the agenda items that we covered this evening, if anybody wants to ask a question, you're certainly welcome to do that at this point. You just have to unmute and identify yourself and ask your question. So not hearing any questions for our public question period, so I'd ask at this time for a motion of adjournment. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded, the meeting is adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone.